Kia ora, Prime Minister.
Kia ora, good to be with you.
Yeah, thank you for sitting down with us.
Oh, thanks for doing it.
How's the year been? How would you rate it?
Well, I think it's been a tough year for New Zealanders across the board. I mean, the major issue is that we've been dealing with some really big sort of economic challenges. But we certainly end the year with really good momentum and good growth, and I think more New Zealanders are feeling the benefits of the economic turnaround and the economic recovery. The real challenge is I want to see more New Zealanders feeling it as we go through the next year. So a lot of work still to do, but really fantastic year on one level, but also certainly very challenging for many Kiwis.
You've rushed through a lot of legislation, the coalition government has rushed through a lot of legislation. I guess looking back, what are you most proud of?
Look, I'm most proud actually of the progress that we've been making internationally. This is a country that's a small country, and 5 million of us in a world of 8 billion people in 195 countries. When you think about it, 1 in 4 of all of our jobs are tied to trade, and we'd actually been going backwards, and we really needed to lift our intensity in our relationships across the world. And that's a lot of what I've been doing. I've had 25 countries I think I've visited in very short consolidated bursts. But again, a lot of it to drive more trade, and it's been good to see progress there, and that's what creates opportunity back here at home. So that's been one of the real highlights. You
obviously talk about a lot about stability and economic management being the core focus for this government. But for Māori listening, who are struggling right now, why should they believe that your approach, or the national government or the coalition government approach, works for them as well?
Well, look, Māori I talk to up and down the country actually have the same desires of every New Zealander, which is they want to be able to work hard and be able to get ahead. They want to make sure that they feel safe. They've been disproportionately victims of crime. They also want to make sure they've got great education opportunities for their kids, and their kids are going to be set up to access high-paying jobs in the future. We want this country to be wealthier. We want Māori to be wealthier, so that we can have access to better social services and better opportunity.
Yeah, and I think that centralisation and that kind of one-size-fits-all approach. We know that Māori continue to sit at the bottom of most health, housing, social outcome measures. So why do you say to Māori who feel that one-size-fits-all doesn't work for them? It doesn't work for us historically.
Well, I'm not saying that one-size-fits-all is actually what I'm actually saying. I'm just saying in general, all New Zealanders, Māori and non-Māori, actually are saying, hey, listen, it's been really hard. When you don't manage an economy well, and you end up causing inflation and high interest rates, and people lose their jobs, and that's impacted Māori, that is a function of just not running an economy well. On the other hand, you're right, we are a party, and the National Party, I think actually Māori have done well under national-led governments, because there's actually an alignment of values about actually localism, and mana motuhake, when you think about the commercial literacy and interest that are Māori, some of our best organisations, commercial organisations, economic organisations are Māori-led organisations. So I look at things like what we've been doing, partnering with Māori health organisations on driving immunisation rates. They have done an exceptionally good job, a better job than government can do centrally. So getting the money out to those organisations to secure and buy that outcome is really important. And it's not just been immunisation rates that they've lifted with Māori kids under the age of 2, it's actually been all New Zealanders. When I look at the work that we've done with, say, Willie and Annette and Tairāwhiti on social housing, we've found a way where government, iwi and business, the three actors in our society, can come together and actually solve a problem and actually deliver housing.
With that rationale though, in the budget we saw a significant wind back or getting rid of completely Māori focused funding or targeted projects within housing as well, although Tairāwhiti is one example, but in other spaces it was completely taken out of Māori housing funds. So with that rationale, how can you kind of, I guess, argue that you actually support that when the government isn't necessarily funding a lot of these initiatives that do serve Māori specifically?
Well, what we're interested in is making sure that all initiatives, Māori or non-Māori, all investment programs that we have are actually delivering outcomes, and that's what's really important. I went to some places where I've seen endless engagement with the government, lots of lovely words and lots of endless meetings in hui, and no results being achieved. No houses. I was one settlement I visited that there'd been endless visitors of ministers over the previous administration, lots of lovely words, and they needed 5 houses built, for goodness sake. But we were able to visit at Waitangi, we were able to actually see what was happening and actually get that job done. I mean, that's what really matters. But if you just take a step back and think about the work that we're doing, say, in education, We have a big focus on something called structured literacy, structured numeracy. We're doing that in Te Ao Medium. We've got all our resources being prepared in Te Ao. There's been, the principle's the same, the execution's different, obviously, because we want it to be in Māori medium, but that's important stuff.
That was a bit derailed though, with a few real Māori words taken out of some readers.
Yeah, but that's not what it's about. I mean,
yeah.
the principle was we have a problem in New Zealand, whether you're Māori or non-Māori, we haven't been able to teach our kids to read consistently, and by the time they get to high school, half of them are not where they need to be at the standard they need to be at, and therefore no wonder if you're a 13-year-old reading like an 11-year-old, you don't want to be at school.
There is a strong sense among Māori, despite, these results, these policy, this approach of the National Coalition Government. But there is, I guess, if you're going to do a vibe check, there's a strong sense among, Māori that this coalition government doesn't understand them or doesn't value Māori aspirations. If you go into Māori communities, they tend to not be a big fan of this coalition government.
Yeah, look, there's no doubt about it. The Treaty Principles Bill was not helpful in terms of the vibe, as you would call it, and I sense that, and I get that, and I fully understand that. But I would also say that I have been meeting with Māori leaders privately, either individually or in small groups in my office, or when I'm out across the country. And those sessions, which we've been having, are really constructive and really valuable. If you think about, the infrastructure summit that we had at the beginning of the year, that you talk about Māori ambition and aspiration. Our best economic enterprises are Māori-led. I see it. That's why I take a lot of Māori organisations and businesses offshore when I'm overseas. That's why I spend a lot of time actually trying to make sure the connections and the relationships that they are connecting with international capitals, that they can actually have investments here in New Zealand. Because if you're going to invest in New Zealand, you want to be investing with iwi-led organisations, right? And they are the most commercially literate.
David Seymour has promised essentially to kind of to bring back the Treaty Principles Bill, maybe not in its form that it was delivered last year, but in a different sort of form. What is, I guess, going to be your bottom line of letting that particular narrative come back into the fold, if that was to be, if you were to be at the table again? Yeah,
look, as I said, this week, and I've said before, we've got no interest in that. We've been there, done that, and we won't be doing that.
So I have this thing at the end of each of these interviews called Aiyo, which is like peaks and pits, which I know people usually hate. But it is like an aki, like a positive, iho is like a negative of the year, and ohorere is something that surprised you. So give me your Aiyo of the year.
So
positive.
What was the positive?
Yeah.
Look, we end the year going into Christmas, 2 years into this job, having turned around a hell of an economic mess that we inherited. And I'm really optimistic about where that's going for the future, and I feel I just want more New Zealanders to feel that. What was a negative? Certainly, our Q2 economic performance and results, because the sentiment that created for consumers and for investors was really frustrated, some of that economic growth and that return. And then surprised.
Something that surprised you that you didn't think were just like, what, that was crazy.
I'm surprised by some of the, sometimes what the media will focus on when you actually think about what's actually happening out there for New Zealanders, and sometimes there's a bit of misalignment there, and that always surprises me when I get a round of questioning for a day that's on a particular topic that might be of interest inside this place. But actually, I get out of this place on a Wednesday night pretty quickly, and I spend Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday out there in the community. And sometimes I think the conversation isn't reflective of actually what's happening out there. But that surprises me.
Cool. O nei te mihi kia koe te pirimia. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you, and you have a great Christmas, and thank you for the job
too.
that you do here in Parliament as well, because it's really important.
More funding for Māori media. We'll come to your things, bro. No, thank
I love
you,
buddy. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Appreciate it.